Regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council, please come to order. Roll call.
Geary's,
Here.
Joseph Jones,
Here.
Lafredo, Mike Jones,
Here.
and Harms.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance on the easy way to do it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It works. I just don't like doing it without having that or some visual of that. So next item on there is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I would like to move to remove 6A for review and consideration. Instead of, I would like to just have a talk about it prior to any type of, I believe that we just need some more information. I found some errors or things that I question and would just like to talk about it before we even bring it to a vote.
Right now we have two for the approval of. We can get to when we get to the motion there and then open it up for discussion and go from there too, Susan, rather than remove it from the agenda.
This is just a consent agenda at this point, and that's not on the consent agenda, right?
No, this is the 6A, which is to approve the revised job descriptions.
Right.
Under
So-
new business. It would be
Yeah,
fine
it's
to leave
Pardon,
it
Therese?
as it. I was going to say it would be fine to leave it as it is. And then Susan, when we just get to that, we'll just review it and not consider it, if that's okay.
That works.
That's what I was suggesting. So got a move and approval. Roll call.
Geary's,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Item is, we've got a couple of public hearings on there. Move to open the public hearing on Walnut Creek Bank stabilization.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Geary's,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Is there any public comment that anybody on the phone lines that would like to speak in regard to that issue? Mark, did you get anything in writing?
No written comments.
Dave,
Did I hear somebody?
Yeah.
Is that you, Mike?
yeah, I'm on.
Okay,
I'm on the phone.
okay. Well, good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hearing no public comment, move to close public hearing.
Second.
Got to move in a
I
second.
didn't hear it. Who was the motion?
I moved to close. And I seconded it.
Okay, roll call.
Geary's,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Lafredo, Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Next item is Resolution 2020-72 to award a contract for the Walnut Creek Bank Stabilization Project to Dave's Dozing in the amount of $76,700. I have no part in Dave's Dozing.
Move to approve. And second.
Any discussion?
Can we get somebody just to give us an overview? There wasn't much in the packet. I believe there was an email about it as well, but if Justin
Dalton?
or Dalton.
Dalton, would you like to take over and make some comments on that? Please?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So this is the project that we're receiving federal funds from, stabilizing 2 locations on North Walnut Creek. The first one, let's see if I can do this again. If I can, Whitney, can I share my screen here?
Yep.
No. So the first location is about halfway down 75th Street on North Walnut Creek on the east side of the bank. There's a storm sewer outfall and a sanitary sewer that are at risk of damage from the creek, so we're going to stabilize the creek over there. Second location is near a sanitary sewer over kind of behind the DNR building. Same idea as we're just going to stabilize the creek with the see if I can share. Still can't share it with me. We're going to stabilize the creek again. We're getting, currently the federal funding is at $56,000, so there'd be $21,000 cost to the city for the construction of this project. I've requested funding for the additional amount that was in excess of their the federal government's estimate on this, and I anticipate we'll get another $6,765 for this. So it's a good project, and the additional funding really helps us do it as well.
Any
Thanks, Dalton,
questions?
for reminding me of the locations. That's kind of what I was looking for. So thanks for reminding me of those. Appreciate it. I had knew there were zones listed, but I didn't have locations.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, roll call.
Skeeries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Next item is public hearing for the 2019-2020 budget amendment.
Move to
Move to
approve.
open it. Who opened?
So
So
moved.
moved.
We got a second too.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Skeeries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Anybody from the public would like to make a comment? Mark, any written comments?
No written comments.
Move to close.
Second.
Roll call.
Skeeries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Next item is Resolution 2020-73 to amend the annual budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020 for City of Windsor Heights.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Discussion. Can be a discussion here.
Would you like to have
Dave.
discussion? Please make your comment.
Okay, thank you. In there, it was, what's our total ATE dollars that we have, that we're putting into this right now?
The total ATE dollars is, sorry, let me get that for you, $121,000.
Okay. And so the remainder will be allocated next fiscal year?
Yes, or
Okay.
whenever you guys want to spend it.
Or allocated at least.
Yes.
Okay. That's, I just didn't, yeah, I think it's the first time we used some of that money for this fiscal year. So anyway, that's it.
Roll call.
Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Next item is public forum. Anybody from the public would like to make any comments of items that are not listed on the agenda? Please state your name and address and speak, please. Okay, hearing none. We'll move on. Next item is consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
I'd like to ask about B.
Pass.
Can I go ahead and talk?
Yes.
Okay. These banker trust fees on page 28, printer ink, $3,000. Is that correct?
Mike, did you go further into the information and find the vendor summary?
Yes, I see a vendor salary, but section, but it starts with, if I'm reading it correctly, 339, and then it goes down to, the last one I see on here is 2461.
Right. So that vendor summary pulls it all out and tells you exactly what each item, what each line is for.
Yeah, but does that have to be over $3,000? Doesn't appear to me.
Let me see. I don't know if I have it in front of me.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure it doesn't.
So the vendor summary doesn't add up to the total?
Not, well, here's what, I'll just read them to you, Rachel, and see if you come up with $3,386. So it is $339, $438.97, $225, $300, $78.06, and there's one more for $24.61.
I'm not sure. I'm really sorry, Mike. I guess I'm not sure what you're looking at.
Well, that's on the next page where I see those, or page 31, where I see the vendors.
Okay, I'm trying to pull that up and so I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, even the $3,251 seems like a lot for ink.
And I don't believe that that's ink, that is 100% ink. I think it's other things mixed in there.
Well, then it shouldn't say printer's ink.
That's just how the forms print, because it only allows one thing to print on there.
It's the lead item, probably.
Yes, that's just unfortunate. It's just how our software does it.
And I had asked Rochelle to print out basically the vendor summary so that not only I could see it, especially because we're not really going in to look at the bills, but so that also the residents can see it. So that's kind of maybe a little bit of my fault as well, because I asked for the vendor summary, which, you know, provides everything that Bankers Trust credit card has.
Is that Susan? Is that Susan speaking?
Yes.
Yes.
Susan, I'm not looking for fault from anybody. I'm just saying that's a lot of money for ink, over $3,000 worth, and I don't I just see these ones that I just read, and they're on the vendor summary. So I think what you asked is perfectly fine. But I
They're
would
in
just like-
110. The printer ink lines are all in 110 and 150 accounts. Is that something Chad can maybe shed some light on?
Yeah, it's not 3,000. I don't know what all that is because the printer ink is significantly less than that. We did have between police and fire both. I think we're around $1,000. We got went with Cartridge World to have an extra container on hand. It's about half of what we were paying for Coke, and so we started that agreement in the last month. But it was for police, I think it's $900, and for fire, it's like $3,000. It's way less than 3,000.
Okay, Chad, I would suggest, and this goes to Travis and Rachel too, that we get an email explaining that.
So Mike, if you actually look at that vendor summary, it actually does show every single breakout of where that $3,000 is.
Well, how would I know, Rachel? I mean, I see where it says printer ink.
Well, okay, so if you go to page 31, it's a vendor summary of Bankers Trust. So that's everything that we paid to Bankers Trust this time on this claims report.
Okay, so that's all under printer's ink?
At the top of that, if you look at the top of page 31, Mike,
Yeah.
okay,
it
you
says
go
Bankers
all the way
Trust.
down. See where all those dollar amounts are? If you add those all up, that's gonna be the amount of money that was paid to Bankers Trust. That's each line item. There's hand sanitizer in there. There's,
It's in front of me, Travis.
Yep.
It's in
Do you see it?
front of me. I can see it. It's in front of me. It's just very confusing, obviously. When the heading says printer's ink, and then it lists all these breakout ones, which is fine. I just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that on the claims report, you would lump all that together. And I understand software and this and that, but perhaps when it says printer's ink, Bankers Trust, that there's be parentheses put in there or something, see vendor summary. Because if I'm a resident looking at this, it's certainly confusing. So
Yeah,
anything you can do to clarify it would be helpful.
Okay, so I might have to physically write on the report because there's nothing I can actually insert into that report. So if that would be helpful, I'll actually put on the report, see vendor summary below.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, if it doesn't create a lot of work, I'm not looking to create a lot of work for you.
No, that doesn't create very much work at all. If that's more helpful, that's definitely what I'll do.
Okay, that would be helpful to see what the breakdown there.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank
Any
you.
other comments on anything on the consent agenda? Roll call.
Skirries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
LaFredo,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is review and consider motion to approve the revised job descriptions. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Susan, would you like to comment?
Well, I looked through some of these and I guess it just kind of is a little bit, leads me a little less than to be desired on some of the things. I guess, I don't know where we should start, but like if you go to the financial place, the financial director, page 106, the selection/approval is by the city administrator / finance and personnel committee. So do we have a finance and personnel committee?
No, we do not. That has been noted and will get changed on the final document.
Okay. And then with the Public Works Director, 2 of the pages were not put into the packet for his job description. So I guess I don't feel comfortable not allowing everybody to be able to see what the job description is. Let's move to my other paper. I see on there that there is no mention of grant writing at all, unless I'm missing these things. It shows that Dalton serves as IDNR MS4 permit administrator and floodplain management administrator. Do any of those require any type of certifications, or because it's not listed on anything that he would, as far as requirements. So I tried to kind of look at that because I have no idea what it is. And I still really don't know if that requires extra certification or not. Let's see. Then we go to, it says knowledge of basic emergency management practices, including NIMS, and then knowledge of safety procedures, etc. Well, I have knowledge of NIMS. I'm also certified. I also have taken the classes. So I think there's a difference between knowledge, which means I know about it, versus having the paperwork that says that I completed the classes. Because there's numerous classes. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what would be required. But I guess knowledge to me written down there just is kind of leaves it open. Then we'll go to the Public Works Supervisor. And I just question who is doing the nuisance abatement enforcement, since I got taken off of his job, if I'm going through emails correctly.
The administrator.
Okay. And then I looked at on the finance director, looked at achieve status as a certified municipal finance officer within 5 years of appointment. And I have zero idea what that is. So I Googled, and you basically have to have 5 years of experience in government finance, 3 years being IMFOA member, which is like an Iowa thing, I guess. You have to attend a conference and must complete Iowa Municipal Proficiency or Professional Institute. So if you have to get that within 5 years of appointment, I don't know, because it takes a little bit of time to get this as well, if I'm reading correctly.
Yeah, it can take up to 3 years to get.
And I guess my other thing is, if we're hiring a municipal or a finance officer, why would we allow 5 years of appointment? Is that something, I guess that kind of is confusing to me. If you're hiring for a finance director, then shouldn't they have the certified municipal finance officer that you would need?
There's actually 2 separate ones. You could be a certified clerk and a certified finance officer. So you could have all the basics with clerk, and then it would just take you another year to get the certification for a finance officer.
And that goes into the other one with the clerk. You have to achieve that within 3 years. And that's actually called out as Iowa Certified Municipal Clerk. And this in here for the finance director is called out as Certified Municipal Finance Officer. So there's just no consistency kind of in the mix of this. Going back to Rochelle's comment, it takes 3 years and have 3 years of experience as clerk, deputy clerk, finance officer / treasurer to be eligible to apply for the municipal clerk certifications. So again, we're hiring somebody who, or, you know, we're allowing them some time to have something that they probably should have as a city clerk.
Well, Susan, you actually can't even apply to be any of those, either of those 2 items, unless you've had 3 years of experience.
Right.
So the state won't let you even be any of those things unless you have that experience under your belt.
Right.
And Rochelle and I are both signed up for the Institute in July. So I'll have all my coursework done because I did all mine when I first started. I did a whole solid 2 weeks. I wasn't able to go last year because of short staffing. So now this year I will have the entire second half of my coursework done. So then I won't actually be able to be certified anything until my 3rd anniversary with Windsor Heights, because IMFOA will not count my 2 years experience when I worked in Stratford toward my certification. So those time constraints are put in there by IMFOA before they will certify you. It's part of the real world experience you need on top of the coursework in order to get the certification. So if that helps.
Can I just add another little footnote here? I think we hired a person previously in planning and zoning did not have the full certification, and the person worked on it during the time that she was employed. So I don't think there's a precedent here being set.
Right, and the city paid a lot of money to have that person certified. So that's my concern, is we're hiring somebody who doesn't have the certifications. I mean, not to say that we shouldn't or should, but it's just, that's something that I've heard over and over again, that we've spent a lot of money certifying employees that are being hired for a certain position that don't have the certifications.
These job descriptions, these aren't tailored for the employees themselves, are they?
I think they're tailored for the position, Mike.
Yeah, well, that was my. I mean, they're not written for anybody personally, is my understanding. Are these time frames and are these deadlines out of whack with what we see elsewhere? If anybody knows.
I did not go through and research financial director. I went through and looked at public safety director, public works director, but I touched a little bit on the clerk, but I did not go through and do the communications recreation coordinator or like Rochelle's job.
It seems to me, folks, that we've hired, namely in public safety, that gain certifications after they're employed. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes, and some of that, like Travis and Rochelle are saying, is a requirement. So in Iowa, you have to be aligned with an agency in order to get, for instance, law enforcement certification, which a lot of states do.
Okay.
Mike, to answer your question, I don't seem to think that it's outside of any reasonable target, the number of years that are there. It seems like it's pretty reasonable.
Well,
Joseph, who are you talking to?
Mike Jones.
Okay.
and Mark, I guess maybe you could answer that. Yeah. So my questions being is that these descriptions that we're talking about and we're approving, they have no, I don't believe they have anything to do with the people that currently hold the positions, right? I mean, they just have to do with the job in general.
Correct. And in my experience, it's not unusual. In fact, it's pretty typical to have these time deadlines in there, because when communities go look for people, you can't always, you can't be guaranteed that the person you're going to want to hire is going to have all these certifications before they show up. It'd be great if they did, no doubt, but that doesn't always happen, because the candidate pool doesn't always provide that group of people. So then this is a way for cities to hire people and still get the certifications within what I believe is a reasonable amount of time.
And I guess I wasn't thinking that this was relating to anybody. These were just job descriptions, and if something were to happen that these people in the jobs that are described here would leave, these would be the requirements, or, you know, the essential functions of the job, for lack of a better term. I do. Go ahead.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead, Susan.
It's also so that anybody applying for the job, let's say somebody leaves, anybody applying for the job is going to want to know, well, what's this? What is that? So there is a description that shows prospective candidates what the job is. That's part of the reason for doing this.
Going to the next, the communication and recreation coordinator. Can I find out why the person has to be bondable according to state and or local code? And does anybody else have to be bondable? Is there something?
Well, it's because they handle money. So that's the reason for bonding.
Okay. And then just kind of going back, after looking at public safety, with the public safety director, let me find that. I don't see anything that talks about EMS at all. And after looking at a few of the public safety director positions that have been posted, not completely in the state of Iowa, but they do have, most of them have EMS requirements in there. And I guess if the public safety director is going to be kind of over the fire department, then I would guess that they should have a kind of a working knowledge of what EMS, like EMT, something along those lines, have the basics there. A lot of them that I saw had EMTs requirement in them. Then there, I didn't see anything about grant writing at all in there. And then I just, we're changing the residence to go from, was it 25 minutes away to 30 miles of Windsor Heights?
That's actually not a change. That's the current policy. When they put those together, they incorrectly quoted it. The key consultants did. The current policy is 30 minutes for all administration and department heads.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, excuse me. Mark, didn't you, when we introduced this topic, indicate that there were no significant changes with regard to public safety chief, police captain, and communications and recreation coordinator? That's what it said.
Yes, I did say.
Okay.
Yes, I did say that.
Okay, so they haven't been changed significantly at all.
That's correct.
But Chad, didn't you have to be firefighter 1, maybe firefighter 2? I'm not exactly, I can't remember that. I remember firefighter 1 certified, and looking through the past job description, I didn't see that listed in there at all.
Yeah, that's correct. Within a year, I had to obtain firefighter 1 certification. And I was thinking, I know I had this. Yeah, it's in there. It's on page 93, the second bullet from the bottom. Obtain Iowa firefighter 1 certification within the first year of employment.
Oh, and it's even circled. Thank you. Then I'm just kind of confused on the police captain to the public safety director. I guess I just like it to be kind of all the same wording, so that it's not kind of like the Iowa municipal clerk and finance director deal. But is there a reason that the public safety director has to be ILEA certified in a year, and the captain is certified through Iowa police officers within 6 months. I guess I'm a little confused on that because I know that ILEA has their academy, and then Des Moines has their academy, Cedar Rapids has their academy. So that's kind of the difference, I guess, between with the Iowa police officer certification. Is that correct, or?
Yeah, it should all be Iowa Law Enforcement Academy or ILEA. They're the certifying agency. And I know that some of this wording stuff I had brought up with key consultants as well, just to try to standardize some of it. But I think that part of it is that we didn't want to substantially change what was there. So we need to probably go back and make sure that meshes.
Okay. And I think that's pretty much all, except for I found a few grammar issues or punctuation issues that I had, but I'm not going to go through and waste everybody's time on that.
Anyone else got any comments?
Yeah,
so
Dave, I'd like to.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Chad, are you satisfied with the job descriptions for the public safety director and the police captain?
Yeah, as far as what they say and how they say it and the job requirements, I am. I do agree with Susan. I think that there's a need to make sure that the wording is consistent across all of them.
Okay, but essentially the bulk of it you are. And how about the public works director, Dalton?
Yeah,
Are you?
yep, I'm satisfied with it. Whitney's was a brand new job description that we just wrote back in December, so.
Okay, and the supervisor as well?
Yeah, yep. Susan, do you want me to answer some of the questions you had, or let me follow up with you later about that?
Well, is there a hurry on this, Mark?
No,
Okay, well, why don't I think I was the one who made the motion. That was a question, I don't remember.
Yeah, actually, Mike Lafredo made the motion.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess it seems like if there's no hurry on it, I think my concern is something Susan brought up with regards to, a couple of pages being left out of the public packet for a job description. I think that's sort of important. But I mean, if there's no hurry on these things, I think I know they want to get done, obviously. But if Susan's concerns could be addressed, I don't think there's really any harm in that.
yes, we can do that.
Mike, if you want to pull back your motion and do a motion to table?
Yeah, sure, I will. I would like to just comment on one thing though before I do. Previously, you put those all together, it was 44 pages worth of job descriptions, and there's only like 25 pages now. So there's been some stuff cut out, and to me, that's good if it's redundant or whatever. So, but with that, yes, I will pull the motion.
A new motion to table?
I'll move the table.
Okay.
Second.
So because I haven't had an opportunity yet, I just wanted to add in a couple of things. And thanks for, I think, the direction that we're heading with this at this juncture. I think for me, I would also want to know, so as I understand this, that the suggested changes came from our consultants.
Well, the changes came as a result of conversations that consultants had with the department heads.
Okay.
So this just isn't the consultant saying, I think you ought to do this or that. It's done in conjunction with suggestions from the department heads.
Sure. I guess my next question would be then, how do we make sure that that's consistent with, I know we're a little unique because we're probably smaller than some, bigger than others. How do we make sure that we're not losing any of those roles? I see we don't have the city administrator's job, but we're adding some things from what I understand to that role. So when do we see that job description, and when will those changes be made? Because I'd prefer to see that all in one full scoop, so we make sure nothing gets lost in this process. And then consistency for sure. But you know, we've got a lot of shifting pieces here, so I just want to make sure nothing gets lost, that every role and responsibility is accounted for at the end of the day. And then much to Dalton's last point about the recreation director job was just, you know, within the last 6 months created. Same for the finance director. So that is a little worrisome for me. Why was that not part of that? I mean, where did we lose that? Is it because that's what they're doing now? Or is it because they're taking on other responsibilities? I don't really understand. I mean, it's a fairly new position and new for our city, a new role. And now it seems like we're adding a significant amount of pieces to that puzzle. So I would, as we continue to have this conversation, I'd like to better understand I don't necessarily need them right now, but I think as we continue to have this conversation, I'd like to understand that. And I want to make sure that we have all of the pieces, so we can have, you know, a productive conversation so that we can move this forward. But my biggest concern is that we're changing job descriptions we just made. From my perspective, pretty consistent, considerably. And then two, that we don't lose anything in this shifting role, and that everything has a place at the end of the day. All the roles and functions that need to be accounted for are. Thanks.
Well, as far as the city administrator position, that was not one of the jobs that the consultant was tasked to evaluate. So typically those things are in an ordinance that describes the city administrator position, but I guess if you want a job description, there can be one, but it's not in there because that was not one of the positions that they were asked to consider.
But do you understand the point that if we're adding things to that, we need to understand? I mean, nowhere did it say anywhere that the city administrator was picking up these roles. So where do they go to? I wouldn't know that unless I asked that question, right? So I think we need to have it clearly outlined and define what's going to happen with those pieces.
Which pieces are you talking about again?
So when you go to the, I gotta get back to the right document, but some of you said publicly in the last 20 minutes, when Susan asked about a job and who was going to be doing it, I think it was the public.
Nuisance abatement, I think is what you
Nuisance
said.
abatement.
Nuisance abatement. Thanks, Mike. I couldn't remember. So that's one of the things that I don't see somewhere else. So that specifically, you said that would fall to the city administrator. So I don't see it documented or said anywhere that that's where that goes. So I just need to have an understanding where those pieces go at the end of the day.
Okay, so
I believe that was done when we closed off that department, and those functions were annotated that were going to be moved to the city administrator when that whole department was eliminated.
They went, though, to the public works director.
No.
Well,
I thought they did.
Not all of the functions went to public works. Some of the functions went to city administrator.
So
my being, they're all over the place.
We'll clarify it for you.
We need to know where they're going to land.
I think there should be a job description for the city administrator that's built consistent with the ones that you see here, so that everybody has an understanding of where all these things are. So we will put one together for this. That's what you're asking for, Therese, right? Okay, we will do that so that hopefully all those questions are answered, and try to get it out in time, far enough ahead of the next meeting so that people have a chance to look at it.
You know what also
Okay.
might be very interesting is an org chart of sorts, to understand where the connections are. I'm a visual person. If I don't see it on a piece of paper, it doesn't exist, right? And so, could be interesting to see where the connects are on those pieces. So happy to talk about it offline on what I'm thinking, but that's food for thought, I guess, as you're thinking about how you're going to do this.
There's one in the orientation binder, I think, but you probably haven't gotten an orientation binder in a few years, and it probably needs updating anyway. I would assume.
Are you volunteering?
I'm sure it's outdated as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably outdated. Yes.
With regard to the city,
one of the
with regard to the city administrator job description, we all know that we hire the administrator and we evaluate the administrator as a council, but certainly we need to have an important part of that, probably the most important part, working with the consultant in developing that job description.
Well, I think I'm going to just do it myself. I'm going to get their template and do it. It wasn't part of what they were tasked to do. They would be legitimately within their rights to ask to be paid to do it because it wasn't what they signed on to do. So I'm just going to do it, and then we don't have to worry about how much more we have to pay the consultant.
So Mark, one last question, and I'm assuming they can probably tell us this when they come and present their final product, because we have done in my tenure on city council, we have done a similar thing before where somebody came and talked about the salaries piece in particular. We did a survey, but I'm assuming they looked at, they've been looking at other cities and stuff. So is that how they figured out what should be in the job descriptions, and in addition to having conversations with the department heads?
Well, the reason the job description, so the KEC was tasked with 3 products: job descriptions, a pay study, and review the personnel policies. So they've completed all those now. The personnel policies are with the city attorney and being reviewed now. The reason for doing the job descriptions is so when they did the pay study, they were sure that they were comparing the right things in the right communities, or if they weren't comparing them, that there's ways to make allowances for things that are different among communities. Every community is different. I'm sure you know that. So that makes it a little bit of a challenge to compare wages because not everybody does things the same way. So that's the reason for the job description reviews, to make sure that they understood clearly what was being done here, and so that whatever changes have been made in the duties that these folks undertake, that those are correctly accounted for, at least for now. Who knows, 5 years from now, these job descriptions may not be what's going on anymore. So it's not unusual for these to be reviewed occasionally just to make sure they're current. And yes, we did make some changes to some that were recently written based on experience now of having these people in their positions and deciding what the right mix of work is for the people that are here. So I think that's not a bad thing. I think that's actually a good thing because it shows that the staff is adapting to what they believe are the correct duties for them to perform. So I think that's what we want them to do. So we will come up with a city administrator job description by the next meeting. We'll get Susan's comments accounted for. I'm pretty sure we can do that, and we'll come back and take another run at it.
Travis, did we get a roll call on tabling that item?
Not yet, no.
We've got a motion and a second, so let's do a roll call to table it.
Skeeries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Michael Fredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of resolution 2020-75, providing notice of hearing on proposed amendment on the revitalization plan for Windsor Heights urban revitalization area. Mark, do you want to comment on that?
Oh.
Somebody made a motion.
Second.
Okay, This is to start the process for establishing a commercial tax abatement program for the city. My understanding is the council members want that to occur. So this is the first step in that journey. There'll be a hearing at the June 15th meeting and a resolution to adopt, which would then establish commercial tax abatement consistent with the schedule. It's I think it's 75, 60, 45, 30, 15. I don't have the exact page here, but it's on one of these Dorsey Whitney pages. So that's the schedule. So it's page 124. Shows the schedule that would be in place for commercial tax abatement in Windsor Heights if this is approved, as described in this notice. So this is setting the hearing for June 15th. The resolution's approved that describes these increments, then there will be commercial tax abatement in Windsor Heights.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Skeeries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of change order number 1 for College Drive project. Dalton, you want to explain that? Please.
Yeah, this is so this is a change order surrounding tree removal and replacement. There's trees at 7708 and 7310 College, and the homeowners are both favorable to having those trees removed. We originally had the roadway designed around leaving those trees present. So if you drive down that right now, you'll see that the sidewalks are bumped out away from the trees, which has been common practice in Windsor Heights. As we got going, we were approached by the homeowners in both situations and asked if we would have any opposition to removing those as a part of this project. It makes the construction a heck of a lot easier because we can string line and mainline pave with a paver instead of having a hand form. It's also nice because we're not going to have to bump the sidewalk around the trees. So generally it's a good thing. It would have been nice to know.
Dalton, so the trees would not be in the right of way?
They are in the right of way. One of them is halfway in the right of way and halfway not.
No,
The other one
I'm
is
talking about
100%.
Dalton, I'm asking about the new trees, the replacement trees.
So actually one of the replacement trees is on, I told them that we will put a tree back in if they want us, or if they're agreeable to us taking it out. But we would want to have it back behind the property line just to avoid getting ourselves into this situation again. Now, granted, that would be
Right.
70 years
Yeah.
to be around for that.
Right, that was my question.
And then the second tree is actually, one of the homeowners is pretty, I don't want to get into it too much, but one of the homeowners doesn't want a replacement tree. But there is another homeowner on that stretch of road who lives backs up to the creek near the bridge. And we have had to remove a tree to get some structures in place. And so we're gonna, if it's okay with the council, install a new crabapple tree to replace one that we had to remove. It's on city property, so if you don't do it, I guess it's for either of these. If you don't do them, that's fine. Just the request of your residents.
So just to clarify, one person is requesting the removal of a tree, and that's part of what we're doing. Another person, a removal and a replacement, more or less. And then another person is that it's being removed but not replaced, and instead there's going to be another tree planted at a different point on city property.
Right.
Okay.
Why is it being planted on city property? I don't understand that.
So there's 3 trees we've had to remove. 2 of them,
Correct.
or 2 trees that we're gonna have to remove, are on either the right of way or right near the right of way. On the south side of College. The third one that we had to remove, it's behind Mr. Steele's house over there next to the bridge. And so we had to remove a crabapple that was on city property. And he would appreciate if we would put a new crabapple in. If we don't put a new crabapple in, that's fine as well, because it's city property. So, you know, we can do with city property what we need to do for projects, but it would be appreciated. And I think it would look nice there next to the bridge or near the bridge.
Okay, so in the past, you mentioned that you didn't want trees on city property.
Well, in the city's right of way, yeah. Now, if you talk to an arborist, they have a completely different opinion on it. So my opinion is not the final verdict on that. But as a public works and streets guy, no, I'm not a huge fan of having side or trees between the street and sidewalk.
So because when they're on the right of way, the city's responsible for them.
Right.
Okay. Well, I mean, can you put it on Don Steele's property?
I mean, so the one that's going to go over and behind Mr. Steele's, it wouldn't be in like the street right of way, but it would be on the city property north of the bridge. So we own the parcel of land that the creek is in.
Okay.
The majority of the
Behind those
cost.
fence.
So the majority of the cost from this change order comes from the removal of the trees because they're just so massive.
Yeah, I was just checking, like Dalton, I was just checking for consistency of your thinking on trees on city property.
Yeah. Yep.
How much are we paying for the two trees? Because I see that net increase is 14,000, but we're also doing sanitary manhole alterations. So are the trees that expensive? I guess I have no idea pricing on crabapple trees and the other tree that you're looking to replace.
The tree replacements are pretty affordable. I think they were $500 or $600 a piece. And Justin, if I'm misspeaking here, chime in. The majority of the cost from this comes from the removal of those trees that are near the street. Just they are behemoths. So as you're driving around to look at them, because it's something that we can't even do with our bucket truck. Even if we were to close the road down and drop them, just because they're so big, it wouldn't be safe. So I think it was like $6,000 and $5,000 for those to be removed, and then the stump ground out as well, I believe.
Yeah, Dalton, this is Justin. You're correct. The tree replacements were $600 a piece. One tree removal was like $7,500, and the other one was like $5,500. So majority of it is the tree removals themselves.
We did solicit, or had our contractor reach out to local Windsor Heights tree companies. There's 2 of them, and get some quotes. And I don't think that one of them declined to bid on it just because they're so big, and then the other one came in significantly higher. So he's going to a third party. But that was one of our requests, is that he look at local tree companies. Obviously can't make him do that, but is that we asked him to do that.
Do we have a motion on this?
No. Would you like to make one?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Skeries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of pay request number 1 for College Drive in the amount of $103,873.83.
Move to approve. Very
Second.
excitedly.
Any comments? Discussion?
I would just say that in talking to neighbors on College Avenue, they're very pleased with not only the progress, the communication, those sorts of things. So good job, guys. I think it's been well received, and people are excited and glad to see the work finally be getting done. So thanks.
Long time in coming, isn't it, Therese?
It sure is.
I think we got a good contractor, so that definitely helps.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Skeries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of pay request number 1 for 69th Street in the amount of $138,984.53.
So
Move
moved.
to approve.
Got a move second.
Second.
I got a motion by Lafredo, second by Harms.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call.
Skeeries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Next item is reports, committee updates. Start around the table the way we usually sit there, Susan.
Just want to thank Mark for helping me today. Talked with a business very innocently, was going to purchase some food from them, and they did not know about the Des Moines Partnership Grant. So there were a few different issues involved in it, and called Mark and asked, what do we do here? And he kind of helped lead what to do, and now they will be applying for the grant, which is always good. And that's all.
You're welcome.
Joseph,
Nothing for me.
Mike,
No,
Pass.
sir.
Lafredo.
Yes,
Count-
pass.
Count me as well, too.
Pass,
I don't have
okay.
anything either.
Mike Jones, Reese,
Metro Waste is meeting on Wednesday night, so I will participate in that and have an update at the next meeting.
thank you. Mark, you got anything more to say?
Sure. The city's workers' comp insurance cost is being reduced by $114,731 for fiscal year 21, primarily because of a reduction in the city's experience modification factor from 1.03 to 0.86. This is a credit to Windsor Heights employees for reducing workers' compensation claims, and I have never seen a reduction of this magnitude ever before. That's a huge change. So that's good. 18
that's
resume.
great.
Yes, it is. It's money nobody was expecting, so that's wonderful. 18 resumes have been received so far for the city administrator position. Deadline for these is the 29th of the month, and interviews are currently scheduled for the week of June 29th, which is that week that's the end of June and the first part of July. Work on the Allison Street project is scheduled to begin this Friday, the 22nd, and I think the contractors are going to be taking out notices to property owners if they haven't already, telling them that. I know there's been some interest in having a conversation with the consultant that did the work on the pay study, so I'm going to ask Whitney to send out a doodle poll so that I think it would be good to take this up. I'm going to suggest at a workshop meeting because I think there's going to be a lot of questions, which is fine. To do it at a regular council meeting, I don't know. That's my suggestion, is to do a workshop meeting sometime, hopefully before the June 1st meeting. Does anybody have an objection to that? Okay, then we will move forward in that manner. I sent out an email here just shortly before this meeting started on opening playground equipment. They're still not officially open per the governor, but some people seem to think that that's going to change. I have no knowledge of that that's true or not, but I am not convinced that that's a good idea. If you look at the trajectory of cases in Chief McCluskey's report, there is no sign that in this area things are slowing down at all. So if the council members want to open it up, that's fine. You can direct that to be done, and we would do it, but I'm just not going to do it on my own authority because I don't see any change in this place being more safe than it's not becoming more safe, at least not yet. I will be out of the office.
Mark, I agree with that.
Oh,
I said
okay.
I certainly agree with that.
Thank you. I'll be out of the office Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. I have a Wi-Fi hotspot, and I'll have my computer and files with me, and so I'll be working some of the time when I'm gone, as long as I've got an internet connection. At least I'm going to try to do that. So I'll be responding to emails and phone calls when signals are there. So thank you. That's it.
There were a couple other items on there. Chad, you got anything to report other than what's in the packet?
I mailed each of you a copy of the 2019 annual report for public safety that was completed finally. Sorry for the delay. COVID kind of pushed that back a little bit, but that was put in the mail today, so you should have it in the next couple of days. And at the end of the week, we'll post it on the website and social media for the community to be able to see and read over. I can't think of anything else. The little radar sign that we bought, we had a lot of great feedback from residents on 70th about that and pulled data off of that. We have a lot of traffic on 70th. I didn't realize that we had that much. And that is now over on 78th in response to a citizen concern about speeding over there. And the idea is that we'll move that around to address citizen concerns as they come in, and I'm sure it'll spend a considerable amount of time on 70th as well.
Okay, thank you. Dalton, you got anything more?
I've got my written report. Appreciate any questions you guys have on that, especially ahead of time so I can get you answers. But any other questions you've got, I'd be happy to take them now. Otherwise, that's all I've got.
Okay. Whitney?
None for me either, but again, let me know if you have any questions.
Travis?
Nope.
Michelle?
Nope.
Okay, folks, I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Scaries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Lafredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Harms.
Yes.
Thank you, folks, for coming, and we will adjourn until the next meeting, which I believe is the 1st, the 2nd.
Yes,
June 1st.
first.
Okay. We'll see you all then, if not before. Thank you for attending.
Thanks. Have a great
Good night.
holiday.
All right.